You're listening to the Culips English podcast. To download the study guide for this episode, which includes the transcript, detailed vocabulary explanations, real-world examples, and a quiz, visit our website, culips.com. CULIPS.com. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew.
And my name is Morag.
And you're listening to Culips. Hey Morag, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing, Andrew?
Morag, I just received a great email. I'm so happy. I got a very nice email in my inbox just a couple hours ago.
What was it?
It was from Airbnb. You know what Airbnb is?
I do. I've stayed in a number of Airbnbs. It's the service that allows you to stay in people's homes, rooms, or apartments like a hotel, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've been a member of the Airbnb website for a long time. I don't know, probably over 5, 6, 7 years, a long time.
Wow.
But I guess when I first signed up for Airbnb, I invited one of my friends. I think we were traveling together at the time, and I thought she needed an account too, so I invited her. Well, turns out she just listed her apartment as an Airbnb apartment, and when somebody you invite lists their apartment on Airbnb, you as the person that invited them to join the website get a $100 credit. So now
Wow.
I have a free $100 to stay at any Airbnb that I like. So it's like getting a free $100. It was good. This is a nice email.
Yeah, that's a really good email.
It was a good email compared to pretty much every email I've ever gotten. I have to say that it ranks up there pretty high.
That's really nice because depending on where you stay, that could be a couple days of accommodation, or it could be, like half a night.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends what part of the world I go to, I guess. And Morag, because of this email, I thought it would be fun to talk about Airbnb today, what the website is, our experiences with it, this sort of thing. But just before we get started, I want to welcome all the listeners to the show. Guys, you are listening to Chatterbox, which is our series where we let you listen in to completely unscripted, natural English conversations. And we hope that by listening to us, you will be able to improve your listening fluency and your overall English abilities. We have a study guide for this episode, and you can download it just by visiting our website, and that is culips.com, CULIPS.com. Okay, Morag, let's get into it. Airbnb. You mentioned that you've stayed in a couple Airbnbs before.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience like?
Oh man, so many Airbnbs. And,
so many?
yeah.
You're a frequent user?
Well, usually when I travel somewhere close by and I don't want to pay for a hotel, which is most of the time. So I've stayed in an Airbnb in Maine and Brooklyn, in New York City, Ottawa and Toronto and Halifax and all these places. So around where I live, but it's pretty cool because you get a very different experience than going and staying in a hotel.
So what would be the biggest difference? What stands out as the biggest difference between a hotel and Airbnb to you?
Well, I would say that I've done this one twice where you stay somewhere where there's a room in someone's house. And so you are sort of living with a stranger for a little while. That's very different.
Oh, weird. Yeah. I've never actually done that. That side of Airbnb, I've never tried. Isn't it scary?
No, not at all. Depending on who it is, because you can usually see them beforehand. You can talk to them, and like exchange messages. Usually, people are fine, and in fact, it can be pretty cool because they can give you tips about what to go see, where like good places to eat are, all that kind of stuff. So if you're going somewhere and you don't have a local to give you the inside scoop, sometimes that Airbnb person can help you out. But so that's been cool. But most of the time, I mean, I'm like you as well. I would prefer to have a whole apartment. Yeah. And then it's more like a hotel, but it's usually cozier.
I think that when you stay in an Airbnb, you feel more like you're a part of the city. You're not just a tourist. You get to experience, how a local lives for a little bit. And I think that's really valuable.
Yeah.
When I was in Japan last year, I stayed at Airbnbs the whole time. Maybe that's a lie. I stayed in a guest house for a couple of nights, but the majority of the time I spent in an Airbnb, several places actually in different cities. And I think I got a different experience than I would have if I had stayed at a hotel, because I got to use like a very traditional Japanese style bathroom and sleep on Japanese style mats on the floor and do these things that I'm pretty sure, if I went to a hotel that catered to Westerners, I probably wouldn't sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
So it gave me an insight into how Japanese people I think, live their everyday lives. And this is one of the benefits of Airbnb, I think, is understanding how the locals live a little bit more.
I would totally agree. I'd say, like, even if you're going somewhere where the daily experience isn't that different from where you live, like say when I sort of stayed in one in Brooklyn, you can usually get an Airbnb in a residential area where there aren't hotels. So even on that level, you are living more like someone who is a native of that city or is a local. So you're actually crossing paths with people on their daily business and they're going about their daily life, as opposed to being segregated to a tourist area. It's pretty cool. I would definitely recommend them. Although sometimes you can have less than stellar experiences just in terms of the actual place. Have you had any like that?
I haven't had any less than stellar stays.
No, that's great.
I had one that was disappointing in Paris. The pictures looked quite nice, but then the apartment itself was rather dingy. But I was only staying there for one night. I really just needed a place to crash, so it wasn't a big deal. Aside from that, I haven't had any negative experiences with the apartments themselves, but I did have a rather bizarre experience trying to find an Airbnb last year in Japan, actually. It was my first night in Tokyo, and my friend and I arrived in Tokyo at night. So by the time we got our bags and got through immigration at the airport and got to the area where the Airbnb was located, it was pitch black and probably about 10:30 at night. And the way that I travel is not very organized. So of course I'm scrounging for Wi-Fi, walking around on the streets of Tokyo, trying to find this Airbnb and following Google Maps. And my friend says, "Oh, here it is. It's this building." And I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, it's this building. Let's go." And as he said that, somebody was coming out the front door of the building. So we just walked in. We didn't try to enter the door code in that the Airbnb host had left for us. So we just snuck into the building and then went up to the 10th floor where the apartment was located. And the Airbnb host had left some special instructions for how to get the key to get into the apartment. She said there was a little door near the front door, which was like an access door for electricity or plumbing, something, I can't remember. And we saw the little access door, and she said that if we open the access door, put our hand in and sort of fish around, we can find the key. So, okay, great. We go up to the 10th floor, we see the apartment number, we open the little access door, we get out our cell phones, turn the flashlight on, and are looking for the key, but we can't find the key anywhere. So we're fishing around, we're lying on our backs, shining the light into the access door, looking for the key, making all sorts of racket. And we must have looked really strange to the Japanese people that were, just in their apartment building, walking by to go home. These two white guys lying on the floor looking for the key. And finally, we realized that there's no key. We have to give up. So we went back on the street to get the Wi-Fi again so that we could message the host. And it was then that we realized that we were in the wrong building, that we had snuck into the wrong apartment building. So that was embarrassing. And we thought, wow, a strange experience, I think, for the people that lived in that building to see us.
I'm the most sort of shocked at the fact that there was a very similar little access panel in the same spot.
Yeah, it was strange. I think it's a feature of Japanese apartments that a lot of them have this panel in the front.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, how?
Japanese listeners can clarify that for me, but actually a lot of the places I stayed at during that trip had a key box, which is kind of a locked compartment hanging in the access door. So
okay.
If you stay at an Airbnb in Japan, you'll probably have to get the key this way.
I would love to stay at an Airbnb in Japan, but I don't think that's in the cards for me anytime soon.
Morag, what about you? Have you ever had a negative experience with an Airbnb?
Well, I mean, I had you get what you pay for kind of experience with Airbnb, which was actually just recently. I went on a trip to Halifax, but I was going for a reason. I was going to attend this event. So I mostly was just going to be sleeping there. I remember we were looking on Airbnb to see what we could find, if we could split an Airbnb. And we found this place, and it was really close to the university that we were going to be at for a couple days. And it was like $40 a night. We're like, wow, that's, split between two people. That's really cheap. And this is good.
Super
cheap. And I went with a friend of mine and like a close girlfriend of mine. So we're just going to, sleep in the same queen size bed. No problem. Not a big deal. And it was like, okay, it doesn't look amazing, but, we're not really going to be there. They're just sleep anyway. So let's book it. It was just really odd because when we got there, they were lovely people, by the way. They were really, really nice couple, but both of them stayed in their apartment the entire time. They both worked from home, and they also only had inflatable furniture.
In the whole apartment?
In the whole apartment, there was only inflatable furniture, and there were like 3-4 items of furniture.
Oh no, an aversion to upholstery.
Yeah, no, like nothing else. I think they just recently immigrated to Canada and didn't have anything. We couldn't find a garbage can or anything. Like it was just very strange. Also, like our room had the smallest window in the world.
Okay.
So it was just a bed and the smallest window, and it was like
an inflatable bed as well.
No, but an inflatable chair next to the bed.
Okay.
Yeah. Although there was an inflatable bed in the living room.
Okay.
It was just one of those odd things where it was like, if we'd had to spend any time there, it was just very, very sort of dark and dingy and not enjoyable to be in that space, but it was entirely fine, and the people were lovely. So it was one of those, if you're looking for a holiday destination, don't accept $40 Airbnbs.
Well, just like you said, you get what you pay for sometimes, right?
Yeah. And it was a calculated risk, and it was fine. But yeah, as opposed to the place I stayed a week before that in Ottawa, I was doing a similar thing. And that was like, I don't know, that was a whole condo, and that was many times more expensive, but so lovely. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole range of options on Airbnb. I mean, we've been praising the site quite a bit throughout this episode, but there are some criticisms too that come from local businesses like B&Bs, hotels. These people criticize Airbnb for taking away their business, stealing their business from them. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you care about these hotels and B&B owners, or are you just like, whatever, I don't care?
I don't care so much about the hotels. I mean, like, little boutique hotels are cool and stuff, and B&Bs are lovely. Although I actually do see legitimate B&Bs on Airbnb quite a bit. Yeah. So I mean, I think they're probably okay. But the real problem that I have with Airbnb is that in a lot of places, like here in Montreal, there are rental apartments being bought or rented specifically for Airbnb. Close to an old apartment of mine, there was a building that was new that was then just bought entirely and just rented for Airbnb. So it's also pushing out people who actually want to live there. Yeah. Which I think that's the most questionable thing.
It's very problematic if affordable housing is lost because apartment owners would rather just rent the place out on Airbnb. And I can't really blame them, because potentially you could make a lot more money than you could charge monthly if you charge by the night. So I understand their perspective as well, but yeah, this sucks for people who need an affordable place to live if all the apartments are occupied by Airbnb guests, There
are things to think about, but that's at least why staying in someone's home, in a room in someone's home, that doesn't have the same issues. So, maybe try it.
There you go.
Try sometime.
It's a good way to ease your conscience at the same time as finding a place to stay for the night.
Yeah.
Well, Morag, I think we'll leave it at that for today. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in, and we are curious about your experiences with Airbnb. Do you use the website? Have you had a good experience with it or a bad experience? Let us know. Send us a message. Our email address is contact@culips.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter as well, so if you give us a search, you'll be able to find us there. And guys, don't forget that the study guide for this episode is available on our website right now. So check it out, culips.com. That's it for us. We will be back soon with another new episode, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.
Do you like listening to Culips? If so, please show your support by leaving Culips a 5-star rating and a review on iTunes or Stitcher. This helps new listeners find the show. So don't delay. Rate and review today.